who are some of the headliners that are coming to speak and present at your event?
Well, we have a few headliners. Our main headliner for the speakers is Natasha Vidamore, who I'm sure you guys have heard of. She was the one who created the Primo Man, and she blends fashion and art and technology. So she's been a huge inspiration to me. And she's also the chairwoman of Humanity Plus. And Kim Celeste is going to be there too. He's a member of IET. Randall Cohn is going to be speaking. Alex Peak from Primer Labs, Kevin Fisher, Michael Borgatti, and those are some of the speakers. And for the bands, we have Haneen Elias from Atari Teenage Riot. She was the lead of Atari Teenage Riot. They're one of my favorite bands growing up. And we also have Loophole, who should be absolutely amazing. He's going to be doing some really weird futuristic LED, crazy fun stuff. And we have Julie Destroy. She's a gabber breakcore artist. Johan S. He calls himself Mutant Dubstep, so that should be really fun. And there's just so much. There's a really diverse lineup here. Citizen 16 and Malfactor are going to be playing, and they're two of the more industrial bands, and they really epitomize the futurist aesthetic with their music and their style. And
So
yeah,
the formal part of the more formal part of the event would be the next 2 days, or just on Saturday?
The formal part of the event will be on Saturday. Friday will be everybody's getting to know each other, pool party, fashion show, film screening, and we're going to have vendors for both days. We have, if you guys are familiar with research publications, they're going to be vending. They're pretty much known as like the counterculture go-to in terms of like fringe San Francisco culture.
By the way, when I told my wife that I'm interviewing you today, she said, "Great, I'm very happy because after Natasha Vidamore, you haven't interviewed any other woman. And you need to get more women on your show because you don't have enough female voice there." And I agree entirely with that. But my reply to her was, well, basically, I try to interview anyone that I can who has relevance to the interest of my viewers. What would you say about women in transhumanism in general? Why is it true to say that there's few of you that they're underrepresented, generally speaking?
Unfortunately, yes. There are not very many women in transhumanism, and I feel very, I guess, isolated because the majority of people that I talk to these days that have the same interests as me are men. I do my job in trying to bring other women into transhumanism, especially the younger generation. There are a lot of women that are into transhumanism that might not know as much about it, and I try to be kind of like their gateway drug, and I try to introduce them. And, you know, hopefully more women will be into transhumanism soon. There's also an argument that transhumanism knows no gender, and that it's beyond gender, so gender really doesn't matter. Because, you know, like after the singularity, how much is gender
afterwards, really for sure, but until then?
Until then, I'm doing my job to get as many women together.
So how many women do you have for your event, for example?
Let me see. Well, Noise is one of the bands that's playing, and she is an alternative sort of rock kind of punk guitarist, synthesizer player, and, you know, she's doing solo all-female stuff. And also, Haneen Elias, our musical headliner, is another woman. And she started Digital Hardcore Recordings, which was a record label that had a lot of female-fronted acts. And Julie Destroy, she was on the compilation for my record label, Machine K Records. And my record label is actually an all-female industrial label. And, you know, there's a lot of parallels between industrial and transhumanism. So I'm hoping that women that are into industrial will take more of an interest in transhumanism. And, yeah, it's funny because Natasha Vidamore is speaking at our event, too. And, you know, we have me, her, like, for speakers. And we also have Kate McCollum, who's another woman. And she's going to be speaking at our event, too. So, you know, we might not be the majority, but we're out there.
Yeah, and you clearly did a much better job than me finding finding the female representation there, definitely.
You know, there's always time to find more women. I know of a woman, she's actually, I wouldn't want to define her by gender, because a lot of transhumanists, they don't even subscribe to gender binary concepts.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes by Kanea Sensu.
Yeah.
And she's very radical. She wants to actually transform herself into her Second Life avatar through technology. So she's going all the way. And
Yeah.
I saw her do a presentation in Minnesota for a transgender conference. And she talked about transhumanism in her talk. And it was a really great talk.
Yeah, Kinea is one of my Facebook friends, and she's also a reader of Singularity weblog. So she hopefully would hear that podcast, because she's one of my viewers and listeners too. So is the sort of focus of the Extreme Future Fest more artistic, or is it more intellectual, would you say?
I'm not going to say that it's more of either, because the point is that it's both. It's artistic and intellectual. The art is intellectual, and the intellect is artistic.
Oh, that's a very beautiful way of putting it. I like it.
Yeah, I'd say like for every speaker, they have something artistic about what they're speaking on. And for every band or performer, there's something transhumanist related to their act. And it's all about the fusion.
I see. Very interesting. So is that what makes your event so unique? Because it's the only one which sort of bridges the gap, or even an abyss, you can call it, between academia, which is very formal, very sort of conservative, if you will, and then art, which always pushes the envelope.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely the first event like this in America, but interestingly enough, I just got an email. Me and Michael, we got an email from somebody in the Netherlands, and they had an event a year ago. This event is called Go-Go-Bot. Mm-hmm. And they booked Natasha Vita-Moore and Alec Empire from Atari Teenage Riot. So they were doing something really similar to what we're doing now. I wish there was more of this in America. Hopefully with the Extreme Futurist Fest, we can be an influence, and more festivals like this will start happening, especially in 2012, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say that I suspect that there may be some little places in Netherlands and in Germany, and perhaps in places like Japan, which have sort of congregated around very similar ideas such as this. I mean, for one thing, William Gibson is very popular in all of those places. So, and transhumanism and industrial music and stuff and so on. So, I think there would be a lot of commonality. At least they would be perhaps a fertile ground for finding, you know, more people to join the movement.
Definitely. I think the big problem here, I refer to it as poverty of the working class intelligentsia. It seems like the musicians that are really interested in transhumanism can't always afford to go to the transhumanist conferences. And that's why we have tickets for only $40, and we have student tickets for only $30. We want to make it so no matter how poor you we want to make it so no matter how poor you are, you can still come to our event. That's why we have volunteers, and we want to get rid of the class barrier, because just because somebody doesn't have a lot of money, it doesn't mean they don't have anything interesting to contribute. And, you know, maybe through showing that transhumanists are not just upper class, wealthy individuals, we can bring more people into the movement. Because I know a lot of musicians, they think that all transhumanists are like these rich academics, and they're afraid that they'll reject them, you know, and that they're too weird for them. And I think that's silly. I don't think that anybody's too weird for anybody in transhumanism. I think part of being interested in transhumanism is being a little weird. You have to be a little weird to want to transcend humanity.
I entirely agree with that. And